Morning everyone, I'm Andrew Quin. I actually work in this building. I'm a planner, so I'm an outsider to a lot of the people here. I don't actually work in recruitment, but part of my job is to understand people. So hopefully I better share with you some thoughts on Generation Z, who are a generation who are now approaching or entering the workplace. They are very much a generation that's a work in progress, and I've made 3 predictions as to how they may turn out. Now, I stress they are predictions. We could be invaded by aliens, we could have a third world war, there could be some sort of disease that kills us all, and of course I would be wrong. So hopefully you can see these are predictions. These are based on generational research, just to be clear. Oh, thank you. To be clear, with generational research is that we're not saying that everybody born between these dates will adhere to exactly these qualities. They are, if you like, macro trends. They are things that will mark that generation out as being different from a previous generation. Obviously, we're all individuals, we're all uniquely shaped by our own experiences, the events in our lives, the people in our lives and our environments. So what we're going to look at is kind of these cohort effects, these kind of macro trends which may influence the way that these people enter the workplace and what they will be bringing to the workplace as well, and the challenges that may bring for you. So, they are entering the workplace. Now, depending upon which generational scientists or researchers that you actually look to, they will have slightly different definitions of when the start date is, but broadly speaking, it's anywhere between here and there. Okay, so how future forward facing this is depends on which generational research you believe in. So if we believe it's 2000, then we're looking at sort of 14-year-olds, in which case you've got a few years to kind of think about ways and strategies to actually get these people into the companies that you work for, or the organisations you work for. The Generation Z, not a particularly great name, but they've had Generation X, they've had Generation Y, now we've got Generation Z, have been called in America, plurals, which I think sounds really quite boring. But despite their name, I think they're going to be one of the most exciting generations that we've seen for a long time. We've already heard the word purpose spoken a lot today in all of the speeches. These people really have got purpose. And I think the message to Generation Y is watch out, Generation Z is coming at you. These people will lead Generation Y. I know Generation Y have been criticised and they're much maligned, and the way they've been presented in the media has been this kind of fame-obsessed, people who want it now, everything's kind of instant gratification, are a little bit lazy, don't apply themselves, the world owes them a living. But I think that's unfair, because I think they've been dealt some very, very bad cards when you look at the downturn and the job market that they've entered. But there is a belief that these guys could actually come and shake it all up. Okay. So, there's you probably noticed from the title, shaped by grandparents. This, I think, is the generational difference, the thing that really marks out this generation as being different from previous generations is the amount of time spent with their grandparents. We haven't got any grandparents here, have we? Have we got parents here? Okay, so how many of you regularly hand over your kids to the grandparents? So there's a few of you. Okay. What we're actually seeing is, I think Saga called them the grandparent army, is a huge swathe of people. I mean, they believe now that there's 75% of grandparents are regularly, i.e. every week, are actually looking after their grandchildren for an average a working day a week. That's pretty significant. What's driving this? Several things are driving this. One is the basic fact that actually grandparents are younger longer, and they actually do want to spend time with their grandchildren. I'm not saying my grandparents didn't want to spend time with me, but I think there was definitely a sense of, I've retired, I can put my feet up and relax a little bit. Whereas I think about my parents, I mean, they're really active in being grandparents, you know. That's one thing, but there's also a very real and practical drivers of this, and that is the rising cost of childcare. So those parents will know, in the room will know about that. But also, and this has probably been brought about by the economic downturn, is increasing pressure on parents and their workloads. So, you know, I've got to work late tonight, Mum. Could you look after the kids? Yeah, I'll see what I can do. So there's a lot of that. So it's childcare, pressure at work, and the fact that we've got a more spirited, youthful grandparents. So they're spending a lot of time with their kids. And I think that we should almost think of them as kind of secondary parents, because I mean, if they're spending almost like kind of a sixth of the week, a seventh of the week with their grandchildren, they are, parents essentially. They are looking after them. They will be sharing with them a lot of their values, their thoughts, their ideas, and ways to live life. So they're going to be really important in shaping this generation. Oh, dearie me, wrong way. And what I think is interesting is just to put that in some sort of context, just to show that this is kind of more specific to Generation Z. If you look at 1991, that would be Generation X. So that would be a third of Generation X kids would be seeing their grandparents on average once a week, a third, compared with today, which is 75%. Okay, that's grown 150% in 20 years. It's an enormous amount. So this is very, very real. Okay, and I think what we're seeing as well, and it's no coincidence, is the role that older people are playing in the popular culture of Generation Z. So for the very earliest Generation Z people, we've got, I don't know how many of you are aware of CBeebies and their programming, but there's a program there called Grandpa in My Pocket, which has won lots of awards in the TV industry. And yes, that's James Bolam. And he is a shrunk down miniature version of Grandad, who actually lives in, as the name suggests, the child's pocket. But the central message of the whole program is one of teamwork and collaboration. It's about living for other people, in a sense, rather than just living for yourself. Sharing is a big part. Teamwork and sharing are the two big messages in that. We're also seeing for some of the ones who are I suppose at the start of the Generation Z process, Cars, the film Cars. Anyone not seen Cars? You've all seen Cars. Brilliant. Okay, so you all know about Doc Hudson, the Hudson Hawk, the mayor of Radiator Springs, the old man who Lightning McQueen races against and loses, the one who teaches him all about sportsmanship. He teaches him all about the values of generosity of spirit. Again, it's not a coincidence. We're seeing older people making these kind of like these life lessons. And the third example, Up, the film Up. So Carl Fredricksen in there, whilst he learns a lot from Russell, Russell also learns about the spirit of adventure. And these are big things that are coming through that are being taught by older people. So, it's a very powerful thing. I keep doing that. I keep going the wrong way. I think it's because I'm holding it the wrong way, which is brilliant. And what we're actually seeing, I think this is the kind of the interesting part for me, is that what we're seeing is kind of a kind of a clash or a mashup of two very, very different parenting styles. So the baby boomers, they're the grandparents. These are the kind of the qualities or the ways that they would approach parenting. Versus Generation X's parenting style, they're the actual parents of Generation Z. Some of the sort of the biggest differences is this idea of parenting or protecting through surveillance. I think we probably all, for the parents in the room, we're quite happy if we can see the kids, we're all right. Whereas what the baby boomers would do is actually involve you. So I think back to my childhood, and when my mum was cooking, I would be involved in the cooking as opposed to sitting somewhere safe where she can see me. I would actually be involved in the cooking. Probably wasn't that safe, actually, some of the things we used to do. And then with parenting as well, the idea of things, what's best for the group of children rather than what's best for my child. And we see that quite a lot with Generation X. Generation X, not trying to oversimplify, but they're kind of a bit sort of more hardened and cynical than their parents. And we're also seeing how, with Generation X, it's about teaching children how to be successful. You've only got to look at what's happening at the moment with the amount of tutoring or extra tutoring, private tutoring that's happening with kids today. That's Generation X. They're really, really keen that their kids are, be given the kind of the right tools to succeed, the right time and spent with the right people to actually be the winner, because they believe that only the best will win. Okay, as opposed to the more idealistic, optimistic baby boomer, which believes that everybody can win. So these are big differences. So what this is kind of doing is kind of creating clashes. So you can easily imagine how, but that's not what grandma says. Oh yeah, but that's not what mum says. You know, there's kind of playing off with different things that how they respond to different situations or issues in their lives. So it's interesting because that, I think, is the basis of the 3 predictions that I'll take you through now. It's all based on this value mashup or clash. Okay, so here we go. Prediction 1. Prediction 1. I believe that happiness is going to be at the heart of this generation's attitude towards success. Okay? I think this is we're kind of seeing a change in mindset. And if you're aware of some of the sort of the research that's been done recently, I'll kind of like talk you through how this works. We're talking about if the average age of being first becoming a parent is 28 in the UK, then what we will be seeing is children will be aware that their parents aren't as happy as their grandparents. Okay? And this would be really interesting because, you know, it will be they've seen their parents growing up where work's actually making them quite miserable. It's making them quite stressed out. And you can easily imagine a child saying, why can't you be happy like grandma and granddad? Oh yeah, well grandma and granddad don't have to work, do they? Grandma and granddad have got loads of money. You know, grandma and granddad got nothing to worry about, you know. And so they'll be thinking, right, so I don't really want to be like you. I actually prefer to be more like them. So there's something happening there in their own environment that is interesting, that possibly will shape the way that they live their lives. And what we're seeing, and there's a chap here, Shawn Achor, I don't know if you've seen any of his TED speech. It's absolutely brilliant. I mean, he's a fantastic presenter. He wrote this book, The Happiness Advantage. And what he's saying is that there's a kind of, he's witnessing a kind of a change from the old model, which is where we chase happiness. So if I work hard, I will achieve success. If I achieve success, I will be happy because I'll be able to buy that car, that house, that holiday, That makes you unhappy, chasing happiness, because it's always on the horizon. And with every goal that you then make, another goal is created. So happiness is this elusive thing you're always chasing. You're never ever going to actually achieve happiness if you're always chasing it. Rather, what he's saying, and he's saying this is we're seeing increasingly amongst the happiest people, because let's face it, happiness has become an obsession with us culturally. You know, the amount of self-help books that we now see on happiness, the amount of editorial space we see in magazines. I mean, even the presence of psychologists today is really about helping people be happier. The amount of TV programs we're seeing. There was a program, I think it was on BBC Two, The Happiness Formula. I think it was about 3 years ago. And I think the scheduler thought, oh, no one would really be interested in that. Just stuck it at sort of a funny time on I think it was a Sunday night. And it overachieved in terms of their expectations for the ratings. They were absolutely stunned by it, and so they actually ran it again because people really want to know how to be happy. You know, even the government measure it, don't they now? We have a happiness index saying that we're not as happy as we were. We've got more money, but not as happy as people were back in the 50s. And this is really where sort of Shawn, his kind of insight into this is really, really useful, because what he's saying is that actually the start point should be happiness. You know, find happiness in the things and the people around you, find happiness in the things that you do, and that will encourage you to want to work harder, which will then lead to success. So start with happy, is what he's basically saying. And we're seeing that, and that's actually truer to the baby boomers' way of living than it is Generation X's. So already we may see, if I want to be more like my grandparents because they're happy, maybe it's because I have to start with happiness. So that's a sort of a new mindset going into the workplace. And I know you all know this, but I think it's interesting that this lesson that Lightning McQueen has, when you're all familiar with the story, Chick Hicks, the horrible Chick Hicks, bumps the king in his last race off the track, which means that he can't actually finish the race because he's in the infield, his car's smashed up. As we know, Lightning McQueen is miles ahead. He's going to win, the rookie's going to win his first Piston Cup. He looks back and he sees the king and he thinks, this is awful. You know, the king needs to finish his last race. And so he goes up behind the king and shoves it, and he sacrifices winning the Piston Cup to ensure that the king finishes his last race. And the king says, you know, you just gave up the Piston Cup, you know that? And he says, yeah, but this grumpy old race car, we know, Doc Hudson, I know once told me it's just an empty cup. And I think there's something in that. So, grandparents or older generations, they are beginning to sort of teach these people new things. So it's all about do something that makes you feel happy, win hearts and minds rather than just win trophies. And I think that's something that we will see with this generation. We're also seeing this with, you're probably all aware of this, the Queensland Tourist Board, the best job in the world. This, I think, is a great example of where, this is really understanding of how to put happiness first. This wouldn't appeal to everybody, but this would appeal to those people who do subscribe to that, I want to be happy in life. Sitting on a desert island, with just a few little jobs to do that involve like measuring things and making sure the environment's all right and looking after animals and stuff. I mean, that you couldn't get something that's more positive and happy and fulfilling than that. Oh, and they pay you for it as well. It's fantastic. It's a really lovely example of just tapping into that. That may not have been relevant 20, 30 years ago, where there was a kind of, that chasing happiness, get rich quick, get involved in a very serious career. Probably wouldn't have been as relevant. And then this is something that one of our rivals to Chivas Regal, it's a brand that we have here, Johnny Walker, are running in the States. And it's a campaign from the future. I will actually show you, it's only a few seconds. But what they're doing here is they are trying to appeal to, I suppose, really sort of the back end of Gen Y, early Gen Z, who are actually entering the workplace, and they've got a message for them. And it is this.
Look at you. You're a dreamer. The dream is all you ever do. You're doing a job you don't get. You've got talent no one's ever seen. I wish I could help you. I'm the only counsel you need. I want to tell you how this amazing story ends. How one day you'll rise up, defy odds, silence the doubters. But I can't tell you. Not 1203, no. Because I am you. 5 years from now. It may not seem like it, but we're about to achieve everything we ever dreamed of. I just wish you were here to see it. But you will be.
So what they're doing is basically saying that, don't do something that makes you unhappy. Do something that actually makes you feel happy. So this is a big thing I think that we'll see with Gen Z. So on to prediction number 2. The second one is probably a little bit more provocative, but this is and probably a bit more harder for you guys to take, because I think that this may be a wonderful generation that you may not actually be able to employ, because they may not want to work for you, because they don't want to work in big companies. One of the big things that they've actually learned as kids is, and this is through their parents, is that a job is not for life. They've also learned that a job can make you miserable. So this is one of the big things that they have learned. And I think that when we look at these guys, unless something radical happens to the housing market, I think it's fair to say that this trend will continue with people staying at home or living with their parents for longer. Okay, so currently it's 1 in 4 20 to 34-year-olds are actually living with their parents. Okay, it's much higher if you look at under 30s. But this is significant because this is the moment when they are spending longer time with their parents. There's no desire to have the conflict that we may have had with previous generations. Parents are a very valuable source of guidance. And if you look at organisations like SEMTA, already they recognise that to get kids on board with apprenticeships, you have to get the parents on board. So already we're seeing that. I would argue, don't stop there. Try and get grandparents on board, because they also will be an important sphere of influence. So what we're seeing here is that why would you want to get that job that you don't really like, that pays really good money, so that you actually can be at home, because you won't be able to go and buy that property, because there won't be property that you can afford. So whereas over here it might have been a case of just bite the bullet for a while, get that money, get on the housing ladder and break free and become independent. There's a reality check here. It's just that even if I did earn that sort of money, I wouldn't actually be able to buy a property anyway. So where's the mad rush to leave home? So what we're actually seeing here again is this kind of this clash of parenting skills. What we're seeing is with Generation X is this idea of being realistic. Do something that you're good at. But their grandparents would say, well, you can do anything. You can do anything you want. So there is this kind of, almost giving ambition to the thing that they feel that they are good at. And while I would, and this is probably the biggest sort of assertion here, is this idea that, if the baby boomers' parenting style was all about giving children what they need to be successful, i.e. the kind of the social skills and the ability to sort of see situations and the education, etc., I wonder whether this will now translate or extend into money. So actually investing in or giving money to their grandchildren to help them do the thing that they love or the thing that they're good at. That's just a thought. I mean, that's just, I could be proved massively wrong on that. But then when you look at the figures, they seem to suggest that this may be a trend that's already happening now and is alarmingly increasing. So yes, we know all about youth unemployment levels. So they've learned that that a job's not for life, they make you miserable, and there aren't that many out there, is what they're learning. Thinking, right, well, parents saying, go it alone, we can do this. You're going to be at home for a while, so don't worry about the money side of things. Together we can actually, work on this career of yours, this business that you've got. And I think this is actually happening now when you've got, in 2010, so like 4 years ago, 5% of under 30s had their own business. Now, some of these would be sideline businesses, some of these could be people who maybe you're painting, are running a kind of a part-time nail salon, at the weekends. It could be people who are eBay traders. And there's a whole host of different things they could be doing. And some of them could be incredibly, serious and time-consuming. But that was 4 years ago. There was 5%. That's doubled. That's now 10%. 1 in 10 under 30-year-olds is running their own business, and that's frightening. I mean, from my own experience, the thing that's really struck me in the last 10 years that I've been in the industry, compared to say like the previous 6, I think it was, is that the amount of people who now who start work as from university, who actually do have a sideline. So I've worked with people who have been event planners, people who have have done designing. I usually know someone who did do the nail thing and now is doing very well and doing some of the sort of like very famous people, which is absolutely bizarre. So we're seeing this huge desire to set up their own business, and we're actually seeing this actually happening. So the desire may have been there in previous generations. They are actually doing it, and there's 100 reasons why that is. Some of which could be the internet, the fact that there's a lot of things are available to them immediately. But we can talk about that another time. And I think that entrepreneurialism is being celebrated in the most unlikely places in popular culture. Who here, you're never going to stick your hands up, who here watches Towie? The Only Way is Essex? All right, I do. Any more? Right, okay. So The Only Way is Essex, for those of you who don't know, is a semi-reality TV programme. Semi-reality because some of it's scripted and some of it's made up, spontaneous. All of these people are entrepreneurs. All of these people have their own businesses. And it's amazing that this is one of the, I suppose today's under 30s probably one of the most popular TV programmes, at least one of the most tweeted about. And a lot of the stars in it, a lot of the heroes in it, are actually entrepreneurs. I think that's quite incredible to sort of think that. So this is not a lofty ideal. This is not something that's completely out of reach. This is something that's very, very doable in the minds of a lot of youngsters today. So that's something to bear in mind. You're aware of these people, aren't you? Yeah, good, cool. Okay, and we're seeing, Richard Branson's in on the act. Obviously an entrepreneur who was helped largely by his family, particularly financially. Has set up this not-for-profit organisation, Version Startup, who offer not only money, loans, but also advice and training to people for youngsters who are willing to who want to get on to become entrepreneurs. So I can only imagine more and more of these things are actually going to be happening in time. So expect the regular banks to get involved. And this was something we did here. Some of you may be aware. It's very small. We've just launched it into the UK. It's called Odka, vodka is a range of flavoured vodkas, and they're all, as the name might suggest, a little bit different. So there's things like electricity flavour, cut grass flavour, popcorn flavour, mum's apple pie. I mean, there's a whole host of different things, jalapeno. There's a whole host of different strange behaviours. But their brand crusade is all about go experiment, go odd. And we ran a competition where the prize was actually to have your invention, your odd invention, in other words, an invention that we never knew we needed but now can't live without, that we would actually make the prototype and give them £10,000. Now they can do what they want with that £10,000. Ideally they would use it to maybe set up a business. Some of them might do it to actually pay off student debt, some of them might put for a deposit on a flat, I don't know. But the thing here is we're trying to help entrepreneurial, inventive minds in the UK. And got a lot of press coverage, a lot of very serious people in the industry actually backed it and thought this was a great thought. The winner was a toothbrush hat. So you brush your teeth when you do it. It's absolutely bizarre, but obviously I can't live without it now. And my third and final prediction, which is this idea, and we've heard a bit about this already from Tanya, with this desire to actually change lives. So rather than moan about things, which is probably quite a Generation X thing to do, Generation Z, we believe, will be one that actually will say, look, yeah, things may be a little bit broken, things may not be ideal, but do you know what? We can actually do something about it. And I'll explain why. So again, coming back to this culture, this parenting or value mashup, the one thing that is universal to the grandparents and the parents is the virtues of hard work. So hard work is at the centre of all this. This is why I think they're a great generation. They're not going to be ones that are going to shy away from a challenge. They're hard working. With the Generation X, the parents are saying, go it alone. Be independent. Don't rely on anyone. Just rely on yourself, and we'll help you. So they're learning independence, but also, and you've seen from some of the popular cultural references, Cars, Up, and Grandpa in My Pocket, this more civic-minded, ethical, socially aware values that are coming from the baby boomers. So I think if you put those three ingredients into a pot, you do get this idea of social entrepreneurialism. And just to be clear, social entrepreneurialism it's basically businesses with purpose at the heart of it, but not to the exclusion of profit. And they will vary as to how much profit they will want to make. But broadly speaking, it's purpose and profit. And it's a hot topic in business at the moment. You struggle to pick up any business pages without reading about, the Warby Parkers or Tom Shoes of this world. It seems to be a really interesting, exciting topic that a lot of people really want to know more about, and loads of books have been written about it. And it's a really fascinating career path. And it's this, and I think we've heard this already today. But this is from our own study here that we do globally, and that is that 86% of youngsters today claim that it's important that their work makes a positive impact on the world. 86%. So as you see, if you work for an organisation that doesn't have a positive impact on the world, then you're going to struggle to win these people over, unless they've got a little sideline project where they are making a difference to the world, helped by their parents and grandparents. I think a great example of this is of people giving back or doing something is Chase and Status, the drum and bass combination group from East London. Will Kennard, this chap here, has actually set up a free school in Newham, I believe, ELAM, the East London Academy of Music. And its purpose is he believes that there's a lot of disadvantaged kids who are incredibly talented in this country who just aren't given a chance in music because they just don't have the training. So this school will give what he promises will be a world-class education in music to really help these kids who have fallen through the gaps. And people like Dizzy Rascal would tell you that you only have to find one great teacher, and that really was the thing that catapulted his career and belief that he could actually do something. He wants to do that at a school level rather than just an individual level. So there's a really, really big thing here. He wants to give back, and I think that's wonderful. So all the people that have bought his music have made him this wealthy person. He's now investing that money and giving it back to people who he wants to create, the future stars of Britain. I think that's an amazing thing to do. Doesn't have to do it, does he? But he wants to do it. And here's an ad in the States. How am I doing for time? Have I run hideously over? Or?
You're going that way.
Oh, right, okay. I won't sort of, sorry, just love the sound of my own voice. It's true. I won't show you this, but I'll just tell you really, really quickly. This is something where we're seeing social entrepreneurialism being celebrated in popular culture. This is an ad that was running in the States at the moment. It's called Upside this car, which is eco-friendly, and it really is something that is quite a big talking point in the States at the moment, because what this person who is a social entrepreneur is saying, why do we do the things that we do? And she basically talks about the difference she makes to people's lives, is a complete parody of a Cadillac ad that ran I think last year, where Cadillac as a brand says, we love hard-working rich guys. And so this is really kind of like upset people, but I won't show you that. You know all about this, don't you? Orange Rock Core. Whilst it's not social entrepreneurialism, it's tapping into that desire to do something to your community. And this is something they're doing across the whole world and have been doing for a number of years now, where all you have to do is for kids to do 4 hours of community service, and that will allow them to gain access to a gig, so you're rewarding them for their hard work. And that's happening across the globe, and it seems to be great. So that's it. That's my 3 predictions. So, I believe that happiness will be a big idea or influencer for choice of career. Going it alone with parental help, because they're going to be at home for longer and possibly grandparent money, and being the change, this growth of social entrepreneurialism. We're already seeing huge growth in that amongst Generation Y, so there's no reason why it won't continue through Generation Z. Thank you, and sorry for running over.